Dear Gianluca, welcome to the ValueDach YouTube channel. We are here at the International Value Investing Conference and you're a speaker here. I just wanted to know, who are you?
Thank you very much. My name is Gianluca Ferrari. I help manage investments at Shareholder Value. We are a small team. It's a small company, employee-owned, and we're based in Frankfurt.
And how did you come into value investing?
Oh, funny story. I guess when you start looking, when you become interested in investing, you look at all the possible approaches, all the possible styles, and I just came across what I like to think is common sense investing. It just made sense and it clicked with me right away. So when I was in university, I started reading books on the subject, and it became a no-brainer that this is exactly where I wanted to go.
And the topic you want to talk about today is activism. What is your definition of activism?
It's funny, I get asked that question a lot about what is activism, and the way I like to characterize it is we don't think of ourselves as activists, we think of ourselves as responsible shareholders. And when you're a shareholder of a company and you feel that you can help that company increase value for all of its shareholders, that it would be irresponsible not to engage with them. So the way I look at it is being an active shareholder just means being a responsible shareholder.
And this responsibility, what does this mean?
It's a responsibility, or I should say the fiduciary duty that the board and therefore the management of companies have to deliver satisfying returns for their investors and act in the best interest of their company and those who own their company. We tend to look for and seek out companies that are superbly managed, companies that have a sustainable competitive advantage, buying them at prices that we think are attractive prices, but ultimately that are managed by top-notch individuals, the type of person who you're happy to give your wallet into their hand. Hence our philosophy of our business owner philosophy. We seek to invest in companies that are run by people who are or act as if they were business owners. And sometimes when the companies we invest in, which we like for a number of reasons, fall short of that criteria, we seek to make the improvements necessary.
And please add more color on the activism or responsible investor approach. Like maybe name a case that was a successful case for activism from your side. Explain it a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It can take a number of different shades. There's not one cookie cutter response to that question, but I think an example is probably the best way to go about it. We invested in a company called John Menzies PLC, which is traded in London. And it was a business that is its core business is in the aviation sector. They do services for airlines, ground handling, and cargo handling. Their clients are the big airlines, the EasyJets of the world. We invested in this company under the assumption that this was a great business and that it was going to continue growing. They're multi-year contracts, a very fragmented market that is ripe for consolidation, and we found it to be very, very attractive. The problem with this is that the company had another business attached to it, which was I wouldn't call it a publishing business, but a newspaper and magazine distribution business, which is a great business. It's oligopoly, or should I say a localized monopoly. So it was a very cash generative business. But as we all know, newspapers and magazines aren't the business of the future. So we went in under the assumption that we could urge the company to sell that business and focus all of its efforts on aviation. After a bit of back and forth, there were certain changes at the board level. A new chairman was put in place, and after multiple attempts, the company did manage to sell what arguably is a very difficult sale. The company also had a pension problem, which they managed to solve. And today it's a standalone aviation company with a significant amount of opportunity in front of it, in our opinion.
With shareholder value, you came from the focus on the German small cap market, and you grew, and in your activism approach, you're an activist, I would say, in the European market. Do you see huge differences in different countries in Europe, referring to activism or the culture that the companies, how they react on activism?
Absolutely. Every culture is a little bit different. I think what they all have in common is that there's nobody is perfect. CEOs are not perfect. Boards are not perfect. And there will always be space for this sort of engagement where you bring ideas. I think what varies country by country, aside from the technicalities of how to execute an activist deal, what varies country by country is the level of intellectual humility, because it's a CEO who needs to be intellectually humble in order to accept the advice of a shareholder, and we see that to varying degrees. The UK is a very corporate governance oriented market, which is very open to criticism, if you may, from shareholders, whereas in other jurisdictions that's not the case. Italy itself I would deem to be one of the most progressive, forward-looking countries when it comes to corporate governance. So it varies a lot country by country, that's for sure.
Thank you. To finalize our talk, you just mentioned Italy. What is as you are also invested in Italy, what is your view in Italy in 5 years?
Well, I mean, as an Italian myself, I can say we've been chugging along for the last 2,000 years, so I don't see that the next 5 should be any different. There's going to be ups and downs, but ultimately I'm very optimistic about the future of the country. The country has, I would call it an undervalued asset. It does have its problems for sure, problems which I think over the long term are solvable. But I don't think Italy will be the big problem in the developed world in the next 5 years.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the conference.
Thank you.